OpenAI just launched GPT-5.6 and barely told anyone. This isn't some minor update or a smaller model for smartphones. It's the company's most advanced reasoning system ever built, and they are only giving it to a tiny group of trusted corporate partners. No public access, no waitlist, just a handpicked few. Here's what makes this unusual. When most AI companies release something new, they announce it with a press release, a blog post, maybe a video. OpenAI just quietly started giving GPT-5.6 to select enterprises. Engadget picked up the story, and suddenly people started asking, wait, what's actually happening here? The model comes in 3 variants, each tuned for different tasks. One version is optimized for complex reasoning. Another focuses on real-time performance. The third balances both. This isn't a marketing gimmick. This is OpenAI testing whether advanced AI can be safely deployed to companies that know what they are doing with it. Why does OpenAI care so much about a limited preview? Because GPT-5.6 represents a genuine leap in what AI can do. The company knows this technology is powerful enough to change industries overnight, and they want to make sure they understand how it breaks before everyone gets it. But here's what the headlines aren't telling you. This limited rollout is a strategy, not a mistake. The story of GPT-5.6 begins with speed. Over the past 18 months, the race between AI labs has become absolutely frantic. OpenAI released GPT-4, Google responded with Gemini, Meta shipped Llama, Anthropic built Claude, and now we're in a new phase where companies aren't just building bigger models, they are building smarter ones. GPT-5.6 is different because it's not about having more parameters or more data. It's about reasoning. This model was trained to think through problems step by step, to catch its own mistakes, to reconsider answers before delivering them. That's a fundamental change in how AI works. Think of it like the difference between a calculator and a mathematician. A calculator is fast but dumb. It can only do what you tell it to do. A mathematician reasons. They can work through complex problems, backtrack when they hit a dead end, and arrive at solutions that nobody explicitly programmed in. GPT-5.6 thinks more like the mathematician, and OpenAI knows that's dangerous if you deploy it wrong. So instead of throwing it open to everyone immediately, they are putting it in the hands of companies that understand AI safety, companies that have the infrastructure to handle advanced systems responsibly. This is why the preview is so quiet. It's not a marketing moment. This is a safety moment. So what does GPT-5.6 actually do that's so different? The model has 3 distinct variants, and each tells a story about where OpenAI thinks reasoning matters most. The first variant is the reasoning specialist. This version can spend more computational time thinking through a problem before answering. It's like giving the AI a longer deadline. Instead of responding instantly, it can work through multiple approaches, evaluate which one is most likely to be correct, and then commit to an answer. For tasks like research, debugging code, or analyzing legal documents, this is invaluable. The second variant prioritizes speed. This is the version for real-time applications. You don't want your chatbot taking 10 seconds to respond to a customer question. This variant reasons efficiently, making smart decisions quickly without sacrificing accuracy. It's the model you deploy in a live customer service system. The third variant is the balanced approach. It's somewhere between the 2 extremes: good reasoning capability without the full computational cost of the specialist, faster than the reasoning model, but more accurate than you'd expect from a speed-focused system. What's remarkable is that these aren't 3 completely different models. They're all GPT-5.6 trained with different optimization techniques. Same underlying intelligence, different tuning for different jobs. This is like having one musician who can play slow jazz, fast-tempo rock, and classical orchestrations depending on what the situation needs. And that's just the beginning. So which companies are actually getting GPT-5.6? OpenAI isn't publishing a full list. That's intentional. The idea is that these trusted partners are testing the model in production, finding edge cases and failure modes that lab tests never uncover. We know the types of organizations involved. Large enterprises that already use AI extensively. Companies in finance that need to analyze massive amounts of data and make nuanced decisions. Healthcare firms that use AI to assist with diagnostics. Research institutions that push boundaries. OpenAI is deliberately choosing partners with the sophistication to handle this responsibly. What are they doing with it? The reasoning specialist variant is being used for complex analysis work, financial forecasting, patent research, scientific literature synthesis, legal document analysis. Any task where being right is more important than being fast. The speed-optimized variant is going into real-time systems where latency matters. Customer support bots that actually solve problems instead of frustrating people. The real game here is feedback. OpenAI is learning from how these partners use GPT-5.6. They are seeing which features work, which edge cases break, where the model is overconfident, where it's too cautious. That's the kind of data you can't get from public benchmarks. It's invaluable for making sure the next version is even better. Here's where it gets interesting. This limited rollout isn't just about testing. It's about control. How does GPT-5.6 stack up against what other companies are building? Google has Gemini, which is incredibly fast but sometimes sacrifices depth for speed. Anthropic's Claude is genuinely careful about safety, focused on being harmless. Meta's Llama is open source and flexible, but trails behind in raw reasoning capability. Microsoft has models, but is mostly integrating other people's AI. OpenAI is taking a different path. Instead of trying to be everything to everyone, they're building models specifically optimized for different jobs. That's maturity. It's like the difference between a Swiss Army knife and a proper toolkit. The Swiss Army knife does a little bit of everything. The toolkit has the exact right tool for each task. GPT-5.6's reasoning capability reportedly matches or exceeds what competitors are working on. But the three-variant approach is the real innovation. Google could theoretically build fast and slow versions of Gemini. Anthropic could optimize Claude for different latencies, but they haven't committed to shipping multiple variants of the same base model. OpenAI is saying, here's one powerful model, here's 3 different ways to use it optimally. That tells you something about where the AI industry is heading. It's not about who has the biggest model anymore. It's about who has the most pragmatic model, the one that actually solves real problems for real companies. And right now, that appears to be OpenAI. But where this gets complicated is safety and control. Why does this matter beyond OpenAI and its partners? Because we are watching a strategy change in the AI industry. For years, the story has been, build bigger models, make them faster, release them to the world. Bigger meant smarter. More data meant better. Speed was the only optimization. GPT 5.6 represents a moment where that's changing. OpenAI is saying, smarter matters more than bigger. Reasoning matters more than scale. Control matters more than speed to market. That's a fundamentally different worldview. If every AI company follows OpenAI's lead, we'll see more models carefully tested before release. More attention to how AI actually performs in real production environments. Less of the move fast and break things mentality. More of the careful approach you see in aerospace or pharmaceuticals. But here's the tension. Control cuts both ways. OpenAI can control who gets GPT 5.6 because it's proprietary. They can steer the technology carefully. But this means a few companies make decisions that affect everyone. The companies with the most advanced AI hold more power. The real question isn't whether GPT 5.6 is more powerful than Claude or Gemini. It's whether concentrating AI power in fewer hands, carefully controlled, is better than distributing it widely. That question doesn't have a clean answer. So what should you actually watch for as GPT 5.6 becomes more widely available? There are a few signals that tell you whether this technology is being used responsibly or recklessly. First, pay attention to where it's deployed. If you start seeing GPT 5.6 in every consumer product, every chatbot, that's a red flag. That means it's being treated as a profit tool rather than a careful technology. The opposite is true if you see it appearing slowly. In specific industries where it's useful, finance, healthcare, research, that's responsible deployment. Second, watch for transparency. Good companies that use advanced AI will tell you how it's being used. They'll explain which decisions are made by humans and which are aided by AI. Bad implementations hide the AI and pretend it's magic. Real magic requires honesty. Third, look at what people are actually saying about the companies using it. If customers and employees are frustrated because the AI is making work harder, that's rushed deployment. If adoption is growing because people genuinely trust it, that's thoughtful implementation. And finally, notice if OpenAI continues the careful approach. Do they expand access gradually and keep learning, or do they open the floodgates and move on? Their behavior will tell you everything about whether GPT-5.6 represents a genuine change towards safer AI or just smart marketing. So here's what you should actually take away from GPT-5.6 and OpenAI's quiet launch. This isn't just a new model. This is a statement. OpenAI is betting that the future of AI isn't about who builds the biggest system. It's about who builds the smartest system and deploys it most responsibly. That's a bet worth paying attention to. The companies getting early access to GPT-5.6 are learning what advanced reasoning AI can do when you give it proper oversight. They're figuring out the problems before they become public disasters. They're building the playbook for how to integrate AI safely into their organizations. And when this technology eventually does reach a broader audience, because it will, we'll all benefit from what these partners discovered. But there's something else happening here that matters even more. We're watching OpenAI choose depth over speed, control over hype. In an industry that's been defined by rushing forward and apologizing later, that's unusual. It doesn't guarantee everything will go perfectly, but it does suggest that maybe, just maybe, we're entering a phase where AI companies take responsibility seriously. The real story isn't GPT-5.6's capabilities. It's that someone with the most advanced technology on Earth decided to slow down, to test carefully, to share knowledge with partners who will use it wisely. That's the headline. Watch what happens next.